Welcome to Forever Exiled, the Path of Exile podcast. I'm Justin, aka Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days. I'm happy to be here, Just. How about you?
Yes, that too. Episode 149 of Forever Exiled. That's a lot of weeks, you know? Like every week, we're just here.
That's pretty consecutive.
Yeah,
I'm getting really tired of you.
Yeah, I wonder what the number is where we're like,
like we've been friends our whole life, and then eventually it's just going to be like, okay, this podcast did it. Right.
Episode 149. Thanks everybody for joining us. Big shout out to some new patrons this week. Serdeus, Buttwax, and Dickwet1. I appreciate you both for making me say those names. Just heads up, if you are a patron, make sure if you want the goodies that we send out to make sure your address is correct within Patreon, because there's one that was just a partial address. So make sure you double check, update it so we can get you your goodies. Big shout out though, everybody that supports the podcast. We really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Patrons get access to After Dark, which is our podcast after the podcast, where we just talk about more stuff. And now we're getting to the point of a league launch time where there's a couple things to talk about. Couple things,
Just a bit.
Just a few. How was your week, Ty?
Well, just maybe 2 seconds ago, my world just, my mind, wait, how do you say, I blew my mind? My world expanded? What do you say? Anyway, did you know in Trello, because that's what we use, any Trello users out there, did you know that you can just use the D-pad left and right to scroll between cards?
No.
This is episode 149, and just today I discovered that I didn't have to click out of a card, then re-click on a card, which I would always click on the same card because, that's how my memory works, instead of just hitting left and right on the D-pad. Who needs a mouse during a podcast now? Not this guy. But no, sweet. I had a good week. Went to a Mariners game. Ian and Chris. And yeah, I hadn't been to Seattle obviously because of the pandemic, but even before that, I think the last time my wife and I went to Seattle was 5-6 years ago. It was probably also for a Mariners game. But to see the Jays, we didn't go for a Jays game this time. We had to go see the Angels instead. Oh, it's so much more relaxing. Like the traffic's fine. It's normal.
Oh, okay.
You know
is
what
that
I mean?
Different
But
league or something?
No, it's the same. It's just not the Blue Jays. Like when the Blue Jays come to Seattle, like they're 5,000 kilometers east, but they're
Toronto,
technically
right.
only
okay.
right. Yeah, but they're technically our home team because they're the only Canadian team. So you go to Seattle to watch a Mariners game. Sorry, people. This is baseball.
Oakland A's. Is that who they are?
That is a team, but this is the California Angels or the LA Angels. I guess
they have way too many.
Right,
Good Lord, calm down.
But anyway, normally when you go down for a Jays game, it's insane. Like that 3-hour drive to Seattle, 2.5-hour drive to Seattle, it's 5 hours, and the trip on the way back is 5 hours. Like you want to stay the night. And it's just insane. Like it's just so busy because everybody here on the West Coast is like, we finally get to see the Jays. And they get 3 games in Seattle to see them. So it's just absurd. So it was actually, even though I'm a Jays fan, it was really nice to see a non-Jays game and just appreciate baseball, but not have to worry about the insane traffic and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, it was awesome. There's absolutely nothing. Like for me as a baseball fan, there's nothing like spending the day at the ball field. Going early, seeing practice, just the environments. Oh, and that field is amazing. When you go for a walk, and you're going to go get your coffee or hot. Okay. T-Mobile Field, Seattle, 1 coffee shop per level. Seattle's supposed to be like Vancouver, where they're like the coffee connoisseur of the West Coast. It was garbage. I couldn't find coffee anywhere. Anyway, but it's a fantastic stadium. But I wore my, it was way too hot. It was still 30-degree weather out here where we are. So couldn't wear my PoE hoodie, but I wore my Exalted Orb hat. Mm-hmm. And I was like, one person recognized my hat. It says Path of Exile on the back or side or something, but the Exalted Orb on the front. And I was just one person. Like I'm in Seattle. I'm walking downtown. I'm going there's like thousands of people. Not one person. Maybe next time. One
of these days.
Yeah. How about you? Do you have a week?
Yeah. My week was actually an absolute zoo, but it was good. I almost missed the launch or the reveal yesterday. I actually forgot when you messaged me. I was like, oh crap.
Oh, the day before?
Yeah, you messaged me the day before. So yeah, no, it was an actual zoo, but it was good. It was a good week. and I can't actually think right now. I don't know.
What's going on?
Fine. It was just busy, really busy.
Oh, okay. Like this is your first downtime since Monday?
Yeah, and it's not even really like I'm really fighting because right now I kind of need to get some work done. So, no, it's good. It's good. It was a really good week, really busy. I was happy to be able to at least watch the reveal, catch a little bit of the Q&A. I didn't get all of it, but yeah, it was a fun week. I love weeks when Path of Exile does the reveal. I love the Twitch thing. I love the, I just really enjoy the way they do the reveals now. So yeah, it was good. And then their little teasers through the week was fun. I love that we're going to say because of us, but I love that they started showing the before and after now for the uniques.
Wasn't that
made
great?
Me so happy. Oh my gosh. Right. That was like literally the best thing because they have billions of uniques.
Over
it's just
700.
so hard to know them all. So I love now that I can actually very easily at a glance go, oh, okay, that's what they're changing. Or
right.
Most of the time
it makes a lot of sense because
I couldn't figure it out. I was like,
even though there's 700, you're not going to know them all, but half the uniques
5.
For people like us, we don't remember the current version of the unique. We remember the version that was like 2 iterations ago,
or that I last used. Whatever I last used, that's what I remember. So yeah, I'm really happy that they switched that up because that is so much more friendly for when they do their little teasers. But yeah, it was a good week. It was a really fun. I'm excited to talk about Lake of Kalandra and the stuff that came out for it because I'm excited for 319.
Good.
I know some people seem like they're on the fence, but I'm actually super
ridiculous.
excited. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah. You'll be happy to know then, since you seem a little bit stressed for time and you really got to get stuff done. I completely forgot to do this week in PoE.
I saw that.
All those extra things.
I saw that. I was like, ooh, there's nothing.
And of course, both of our PoE weeks were just simply waiting in anticipation. So
yeah, did you play it all this week?
No, I didn't.
No,
I didn't really actually have a lot of the personal time outside of plans. And then it was more just, you know what? Actually, I probably could have had about a 3-4 hour session in there, but I decided to like really hone in on what I wanted my 2 builds to be this league.
Yep. Because did the patch notes change any of that for you, or like
no? And almost every single time, like I'm not the type of player that I have to play the best. I'm not the type of player like I just like this is the idea I want to do, and I'm going to try it. I want to see if it works, and that's great. And so for things like, for example, my bone zombie build, my zombie build, I'm going to be changing that to a chaos and poison build. One version, because it's already set up in standard, is just going to slightly change, going, just still following unnatural strength, but now it's going to take advantage of unholy might. But then there's also going to be, I'm going to add like poison and chaos to a new zombie build that I'm going to use with the occultist. And so basically that revolves around being able to add chaos damage to it and poison chance. So as long as chance to poison doesn't change, doesn't matter what they do, right? So yeah, so that kind of stuff. Like I'm the kind of player where patch notes will make my build better or worse, but it's not going to change what I play. So I had fun playing in PoE Planner this week.
Yep.
But just double checking things, right? Because all the gem changes were already mentioned in the dev manifesto last week, which I thought was actually quite cool. So it really gets theory crafting going ahead of time outside of the tree and atlas changes. So
are you excited to start the league and finally find out what quality does on zombies?
Like, you know why
is it not out? I don't get
that's hilarious. The very first thing I checked, like I didn't want to check anything because I knew I didn't have all the time in the world to go through the patch notes. So I knew I wouldn't be able to read the patch notes, then go through the patch notes again and then make notes for our show. So I just did the one pass. But before I did that, I'm like, I got to check. I load up the patch notes, which it was hilarious because right after Ziggy and Chris's interview, pathofexile.com, people were so exciid that it was down.
It happens every league.
Right, but to me, it's not a criticism to GGG. I just love that it's like, I can't wait. I have to check. But yeah, so I check, and as soon as I was able to load the site, the very first thing I did, unhide all spoilers, and I'm on my phone, so whatever Control F is on the phone, zombie, and all it said was getting rid of quality. It didn't say what it was adding, and I was like, oh, I was so excited.
A surprise. It's going to be a surprise.
The first thing I'm going to do, my first 2, what are they called? Gem cutter prism? Gem prism cutters, whatever they are. GCP, right? That's what they're called, GCP. The first 2 I get, boom, boom, right on my zombies just to see.
You
just
can hold
so I know
alt.
what
You
it
don't
is.
have to put it on. If you hold alt on that thing now, you can see quality.
That's
so you
right.
don't have to do
Well,
it.
look at that quality of life business.
Save yourself a GCP besides waiting until you're like well into red maps before you finally get one.
That's right.
Yeah, I didn't play any Path of Exile this week. I actually played very few games this week. I beat No Man's Sky at the beginning of the week, and because I was playing through that, I wanted to actually see what the end was like. And then I played a little bit of F1 because I got some new toys, but it is I'm struggling. I'm struggling a little bit with it because the pedals are much more. I don't know. They're more. It's a more realistic type of brake that's used, and
You have to press it harder.
Yeah, I don't have like I don't want to buy like a whole friggin' seat and setup stuff. So been testing some stuff out, but yeah, I didn't touch Path of Exile besides the stuff I watched online. So I think we should just get right into it. Hey, should we do let's do the reveal stuff. I know we've got the patch notes, but can we just quickly talk about the reveal stuff first?
Whatever you want. I'm not in that order, so you go. I had some stuff that I wanted to say that was kind of from just some side stuff and interview, and then everything else I have is in order of the patch notes.
Okay, so like a Kalandra, they showed what it's going to be. Looks pretty fun. Yeah. I like that it's all happening within the zone. Besides when you go to it, it takes you out, but it seems to be very easy to interact with. The little thing is it's very synthesis-y looking, like with regards to building the little map, but much more simple than like having to join T's and joints and stuff. It looks a whole lot more simple, a lot more fun.
It was nice to understand it. Yeah,
for sure. And I like that it's pulling in like past league content. It's a really cool idea of how Kalandra's sort of mirroring these things, these league contents, and you get to build it. The reflecting the jewels is really fun, especially because the jewelry. I actually love the one that probably everybody else is probably looking forward to, that one where you can like copy your own ring. But I like the one where it's like, hey, here's a free ring, pick whichever one you want, or a free amulet. I just think that's so fun. And good Lord, if those rolls that they were showing if that's like sort of the norm of what you're going to see, those rings and amulets looked nuts.
Yeah.
Like they really looked pretty crazy. So, yeah. And my favorite part about all of the whole Kalandra stuff is that when you get to maps, you can itemize the whole lake. So instead of having to run it now, I can just like pull it out and run them later. That to me was very, very exciting.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. I am quite excited to see how the mirror interactions work out as well. I think it's really cool that it's just jewelry. I think that adds a nice little element, so it still lets you focus. And I think that's actually really smart because of a lot of the changes they made to mods this league. So it's still letting us have normal gear, but focus on it as new gears as we try and experiment with some of these new T1 mods, or like for some stuff, new minion mods. And so, I mean, obviously some of the new stuff like the bone ring is jewelry, but still that's one out of how many other changes they've made to items this league. So it's nice that they kind of honed in the new experimental item type to just specific the jewelry.
Yeah,
right.
Yep,
yeah,
for sure.
Actually, it's not even all jewelry. It's not belts. It's a one socket, right? I guess that's not official, but just by looking at the picture, it looks like it's just rings and amulets.
Or two things, rings and amulets. Yeah.
And the tablet does seem very fun. I'm very glad how co-op friendly it is. Like when you and I are running around in the map,
totally like, do whatever you want.
We're making our own choices. It's not like it's co-op friendly and you make the choice for the group. We make our own individual choices for our own items, and then we can run it whenever. But
I love that in addition to that, it's not only do you get to make your own choices, but when you do the event, all your party can join you on that. Well, I think that's so cool. Yeah,
it was nice that it became a focus, and I'm really glad Ziggy really started pushing co-op questions like, hey, so what's this like for co-op ability? Next league, hey, what's this like for co-op ability? Next league, hey, what's this like? And whether that had an influence on it or not, I'm really glad that PoE, I remember when, I think it was back in Heist, when they started saying, yeah, from now on, we're really going to have a major focus to make sure that our content can be done co-op. I don't remember the leagues way back before Heist where they really didn't work out well for co-op, but I am glad that that's been a continued thing, and it's something I'll always be thankful for. And for Slowpoke Tyler, it's not a timed league.
Nope, they were very specific about that, which I love.
The only time stuff is stuff that's already previously timed. Like, yeah, that's right. So absolutely love that.
The other thing that they brought in, which I think is really cool, it'll be fun to just try them from time to time, but is the whole new story thing with these Atlas modes where your certain NPCs are giving you quest lines that gives a bit more lore towards them. Matt, did you hear his example? I heard his example, I think, in the Q&A where he said that there were, what did he say? There was some insane number of rogue exiles in a map he
100.
did. Yeah. And all I thought it was you. I was like, oh my God, Tyler just filled his pants. But it sounds fun.
Imagine, so these memories, they're not part of your Atlas passive, I think it is.
That's correct. Well, they don't gain the benefit of your Atlas passive.
Right. But imagine, because I am always going to be buffing rogues in my Atlas passive. Imagine getting that and they are buffed. I'm like, okay,
you're never finishing it.
That's right. That's right. But you can fail them. You can fail the first one and you still move on to the second one. You're just obviously not getting the rewards because you're using up all your portals.
Oh, is there an actual mission to what you need to do, or is it just completing the map?
I'm sure there's something to do with the very last one, but yeah, you have your 6 chances. And Chris said something along the lines of, you still get to go to the next one if you used up all your portals. Whether that stays or not, I don't know, but that's how I heard it anyway.
Yeah, it's fun, and it's very, very end game, so it'll be cool to see it. It looks pretty on the Atlas, like with the blue and the yellow and stuff.
It really does.
They showed 4 new gems. They're very shock, lightning.
Hang on. I gotta where are we? Yes, they are.
I do like the new mark though. The new mark looked really cool. That one looked really fun. The shock ones, I was like, I'm gonna have to wait to see. But the mark looked really cool.
I'm curious how to deal more damage with those ground effects. I read something along like they don't scale with.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how you make that stronger. Because obviously that's the point of it, right? Unless the only reason is like you want it to be strong so that it's hurting. So I'm just curious how it does scale. I didn't look into it too quickly, or I only looked at it quickly, so I didn't think about it. But yeah, I really liked it. That seemed very, very cool. It's only for burning and
poison
chaos. Yeah, that's right. And then everything else was a shock focus. So cold and chill, screw you.
Yep. Are there other marks that already? No, I don't think those help them specifically, but yeah, I don't know. It just looked fun. It looked really cool how they were using it too, like where they were using it with was it Flame Blast, I think.
Yeah.
They did a bunch of changes to uniques, which I know that's in the patch notes. I'm just quickly going through the actual reveal part, but
you do.
We'll go through in a minute, but I'm just going to say, and we'll talk about unique stuff as well. It might be one of my most exciting changes for 3.19.
Which
probably all the unique changes.
Okay.
Because we'll talk about when we get into the patch notes, but I love that they're completely altering and changing and buffing up a huge amount of uniques and making them more rare. That to me, it's really fun now to think of the idea that as I'm playing through, when a unique drops, there's a higher likelihood that could actually be really beneficial to me while I'm leveling. Maybe not so much end game. Some of them certainly are, but I'm really excited about that. We'll talk about all the changes they made to the leagues in the patch notes. I'm sure you got that in there.
Oh yeah.
And then Trickster, we're going to talk about ExileCon 2023 came up.
You want to go?
Was the little note. Man, I had a bunch of people messaging me yesterday asking if we're going to go to ExileCon. I loved ExileCon. It was so much fun. It's in an awful month for me in July. It's right across, like it's literally on Christina's birthday and 4 days after my anniversary. So it's a really tough time to try and go away. It's so cold. It's so crazy. Like I'm like,
it's not cold there, you monkey.
Yes, it is. It actually is. You should look at what the New Zealand, they're like us. It's like our winter. Their temperatures average from -2 degrees to like 9 degrees in the month of July. So it's pretty cold.
You're inside.
I'm going away we have that temperature like 3/4 of our year, and we're going to be in the middle of our summer. So, and it's 2 days. You mentioned it was 3 days, I think, last year. So it's only a Saturday and a Sunday. I would love to, but I'm not sure. You can't even book flights yet. That's too far away to try and book flights. I looked at a curiosity. So I don't know. Is that something you'd want to do?
Yeah, whether I can afford it or not is one thing, but I would absolutely love to. I was telling my wife, so I was looking at flights to New Zealand, and she's like, okay, because we don't even like go to, like we don't even go to the zoo very often. And so she's like, and she's like, and how much is it? And I'm like, well, I can't book for the exact dates right now, but the prices are anywhere between $1,400 and $8,900.
Yeah, it's around
right, because like, it's all wonky right now. So
it's probably about $2,400 for the round trip flight per person.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to. It'd be really, really cool. And I think this one, they mentioned that there's Path of Exile 2 has expanded in ways that they didn't expect per se. Like it's gotten a lot bigger than they had originally planned. So I don't think it would just be normal news you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just going to be pretty cool.
I would imagine it's going to be somewhat close to the Path of Exile 2 release, if not like right around that. Like if they're like, it's coming out in a week or something, because otherwise we're already pushing towards 2024 for a release, which maybe that is the case. It might be that far anyway, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. So, if it works out, maybe that it would be a good time, but yeah, I don't know.
Just break up with Christina for a bit.
I thought they were going to do one closer this way when they did their second one. As soon as I saw Auckland, I was like, God dang it.
Oh, you thought that maybe they go to California?
Somewhere in the States. It's just so much easier to travel. I get it. That's a very selfish thing. It's so far away. It's literally like from every other place in the world. They're the furthest point from everyone. So, but it'll be exciting if we don't go, even if we can't make it to watch it. But yeah, it's cool that they're doing one. I actually didn't expect them to do one. I really didn't. I thought that was maybe a little bit still close COVID wise, and where people are still at in some places of the world. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it'll be cool.
Well, I think that's kind of a hint as to how much the game that they want to announce has grown compared to its original expectations.
Sure. Yep.
That they find it worthwhile, because they said it cost quite a lot of money for them to put it on the first go around. Obviously, I would assume it's the same thing this time.
Yep. And the only other thing real quick with regards to the reveal part is the supporter packs. So they had 2 supporter packs, that purple one, that night one. I'm in, I'm buying
100%.
it. And then they showed the other one. I was like, oh, good. I don't feel bad. That one didn't appeal to me at all. I love when that happens, because besides the like dog that grows a pack as you're picking stuff up.
I absolutely love that dog. That dog is really cool because, well, I'm a dog fan. And then there was one other thing. Oh my goodness. Okay, so in that other one, it was just these 2 things that interested me in the other pack. But there was, of course, the dog, and then the very last one. And I wouldn't spend $90 on this. I would definitely spend the money if it was in the first tier. But exploding when you die. I can't, Justin, I laughed out loud so many times when watching it, just like the scream and this massive explosion. Imagine like playing together and you both have that, and
just to watch somebody actually explode. I have a question. One of the ones in that particular pack was corpse turn into like a gravestone. Does that actually remove the corpse? Because it couldn't, right? Like that would,
you're turning into like those Reddit Twitch people. These are cosmetic.
No, I'm asking though. Does that mean that the thing explodes then?
Oh, I don't know. Like, visually, I don't know.
How is that turning into anything? It was a question. I'm curious.
No, I thought you were like saying that it actually removes like the corpse.
I know they're all just supposed to be visually changing things, but I was like, what happened to that corpse? Like, is that corpse still explodable? Could I? Because removing corpse is a pretty big deal. There's no way that thing could just actually remove the corpse. So then I'm curious if the gravestone maybe.
Yeah, one of them is going to be the corpse still. There's no way that it actually impacts the game.
Yeah. Anyway.
Ninny.
Well, it does affect the game. It cleans it up. Look at all the friggin' things it took off the ground.
But anyway, actually, it shows up kind of late. You're too fast for that MTX.
Yeah, that might actually be true. Same with that purple, like flowery thing that happens as you're running past corpses. But yeah, so that was the basics of the reveal. They did a really good job with it, and it was fun to watch. And then they did the Q&A. So what do we want to do? Do we want to jump into patch notes?
Well, our notes are all over the place. So my apology, like Justin's notes and my order are totally different. We probably should have collaborated how we did this. So my apology. We're going to already touch on stuff that we
haven't,
because I couldn't find, I was trying to find where that is. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't find it. So my apologies.
Well, we're going to work our way through the patch notes in
Yeah.
sequential order. So
stuff that wasn't patch notes related. I love that they had the press kit at the bottom of the league reveal.
I know they do that every league, but you get so excited every time. I love it because I take it for our YouTube.
Yeah.
Because that's, YouTube, I love you guys, but, I don't want to spend too much time on it. So the press kit is awesome.
But it's nice. There wasn't unfortunately, any like updated Atlas or Atlas passive tree pictures there, because that's what I like for my background. But I took the Path of Exile with Kalandra. Bird Lady. Who'd have thought? I thought it was like more deity. Maybe, of course, I guess in these games that could be deity too. But I never thought of bird. And I'm curious, how early or late did that come up? Like maybe they always had this entity that existed, but they didn't know anything about it. Maybe they always knew she was a bird lady back in 1.0. I don't know. I'm curious. You'll
never know.
Well, we could ask.
Yeah, we gotta get like maybe Nick on. Because he's like one of the writers. And we'll force him to tell us.
That's right.
Exactly when.
That's right. We'll point our finger at him through the screen.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you noticed, but while Chris was getting interviewed with Ziggy, there was somebody working in the background just at their workstation. And that monitor you could see the whole monitor while Chris was working. So it was like there was the bookshelf, but then just to the left of Chris's head, or our left of Chris's head, there was a monitor there. And of course, it was a little bit blurry because it was quite far away and through some glass. But I read like there was patch notes up there, but like on a completely different screen. So it was like the white document that they would use, I guess, maybe to apply it. And I saw them working on like some skills, and then there's some other stuff. So I'm curious if any fancy person went in there and
like zoomed in.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm waiting for that to happen. Bring that thing up on Reddit for whoever it is that was looking at that.
Can you imagine screen? The person like working on PoE 2 is actually working on something secret, and they've got it literally pointed at the camera. And whoops.
That's right. The new kind of quality for the spears that they're going to apply. So anyway,
that's awesome.
Maybe I like Chris's shirts. Every shirt he wears.
What did he wear? I didn't even notice.
Well, I mean, he had the nice like sport jacket on for the video, and then he just had that cool button up. I don't know. Maybe I have a crush on him or something, but it looks good. I like his shirts. Amazing. I kind of would like. I look at my shirts now, and I'm like, I need a little bit of extra something. I do. I need the buttons. I need the nice little V-neck or whatever. I don't know.
Sweet.
Anyway, that's kind of silly, but yeah, no, it was looking good, and I really like both of them. I think they do a great job. So once again, big shout out to Ziggy and Chris. Ziggy, your questions are always fantastic and on spot, and I appreciate that you're not always trying to make them easy questions.
It's probably super difficult too, because the Twitch chat is going crazy with their own questions, and then people not happy their question doesn't get asked, blah, blah, blah. So
and I'm always impressed with Chris's ability to always be himself. He's never different per se. Like he's always honest and kind, whether he's feeling overwhelmed with community reaction like a few leagues ago, or whether he's a lot more calm like this time. He still is always himself, and there's always that like sassing and razzing us a little bit, teasing us with stuff, making fun of us, good humor. Like I do really appreciate it. So yeah, no, really, really cool. So I don't know if you noticed, but as a minion guy and zombies are just the best for me. I think that in term balance wise, right? Like, I think they're a good medium where, you need the really invest in survivability, but you also really need to invest in offense. The idea is that you're not respawning. I know you can play zombies in a lot of different ways, but the basic idea of zombies is that you raise them, they don't die, they do your damage, and that's the thing. So I think they're a really good balance for how minions work. And so, I've always had a thing for them. When they were talking in I think it was the 30-minute reveal video, there was a zombie build in there, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. They're actually running around. They had an animate guardian in there running around with like the only unique I care about, which is Dying Breath, which is all about like the curse efficiency and auras and all that kind of stuff, and allies get damaged. And that is a decent animate guardian weapon, but it was almost like it was either they were rubbing it in or they were encouraging me, because how cool is that that's like actually my build. I don't use animate guardian because I think the whole design of the character and like the lack of UI, it's just tedious and annoying, and I won't use animate guardian until they actually come up with something that's helpful for me. But well, not for me, but for people. But I love the fact that they were using zombies with Dying Breath as like one of their main examples. And even when they were finished talking and they were zooming in on whatever build it was going to be that they were running around with, it was the zombie build, and I'm like, oh, All right, it's gonna work. It's gonna work. So yeah. Let's see what else did. Oh, okay, right. Back to the support packs, because this, of course, wasn't in the patch notes. The puppy carrying stuff, the hoarder stash in the knighthood one. Man, that's cool. Right? Yeah. There's a kill counter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I really hope that works with minions. Like, I hope that's build wise. You know, I hope it doesn't have to be me that does the killing. There's even that stationary elevator, which is kind of neat. It's kind of like while you're standing around, you're doing your inventory. All of a sudden, you're like higher than everyone else just because you're cooler, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, no, really cool. But I think it's hilarious how many times GGG has to, like, for Twitch chat, purely cosmetic. I just love how many times Chris has to re-emphasize that, even though he's using the same wording that he used in the video. But yeah, and last little tidbit before we actually get into the actual notes. It seems like, maybe not, because maybe I'm just not as into normal league stuff, but seems like there's a little bit extra, you'll just have to figure that out, added to this game, where it's like how to access this boss or how to do this or what a new recipe is going to be. There are a lot of new recipes, happy hunting, in the patch notes that they mentioned. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that stuff.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. First on the patch notes was the Challenge League, Kalandra Challenge League, but we already touched on that. Everything that I had there was already there. New content and features. You mentioned the huge shock bonus and the Alchemist's Mark, Atlas memories. One thing that I wish I mentioned when you were talking about the Atlas memories is it is kind of cool, even though you're going to get them a lot later. And I think Chris said something that they are starting around tier 14. Right. But if for some reason you haven't done the maps that the Atlas memory is giving you through, you get the maps for free, which is great, and you can modify them, but they do count towards your Atlas progression as well. I like that. I like those extra steps. I like that it doesn't take an extra league for the community to be like, hey, yeah, this would be really cool if, and they're like, yeah, we don't see an issue with it. I like that they just do it right off the bat.
I wonder how it will work, though, given that if you're into tier 14 and above, you got to run them corrupted. Could you actually change the map to something else, or is that a safe corrupt where you can't?
Oh, that's
it can't change the base type. Although it would really suck to roll it and then it's like reflect elemental, and you're like, well,
see you later.
Yeah, can't do this anymore.
I probably wouldn't go for map completion bonus right off the bat. I would probably just go for
unvaluable. Like maybe they can't be corrupted, because it feels like you could really wreck it by corrupting it, where you might not even be able to do it. And then what happens?
I'm still enjoying your word of unvaluable.
Unvaluable.
No, that's good. And of course, the expansion into lore into these NPCs, I quite really enjoy that. And it's fun. But it's kind of now we don't really know how it's going to be, but it seems like it's going in a direction of lore via gameplay as opposed to lore via reading. And if that's the case, I am very excited for that for sure.
Yeah, it looked like there was still a bit of reading, but that's fine. Especially because some people will love that stuff, like absolutely love that stuff to find out some of the background to them. Most people are probably just going to click continue and like, let me get my map, please.
I used to be the kind of player where when I was exploring the Wasteland and Fallout 3 and all the other Fallout games, I used to be the player where I would open every single locker, read every single note, read every single email that was on the overseer's computer. And whatever it was, maybe it was when I started playing Path of Exile and Dark Souls and all that, all of a sudden it was like, I don't care. I don't
Give me my loot. Give me my loot.
That's right. Did you read the note? I don't know. Did I? You're dead. Right?
It really sucked doing games where it was like, how do I find that note now?
That's right.
Clearly it was important and I missed it.
Did you ever get to fight the Trial Master? Or was that the league where it never ever showed up?
Very, very hard. It was very RNG, and it was a lot of I didn't. Okay. So it's going to be fun that it's back through a unique map. So you just once you get the unique map to drop, you get to do it. So that'll be fun. It looked like a cool fight.
That's the first time I saw it. That's the first time I saw it.
Me too.
So
I hope he mocks you the whole time.
I know, right? Because really what was it? It was almost like it's funny because obviously you want to be encouraged, but with the knighthood support pack, that knight that's above your portals encourages you and keeps you going. And part of me was kind of like, oh, like
so nice.
I wanted to cut me down. I like the Trial Master was hilarious.
To be like, try dodging, like I want him to like, if he actually hits you, there's some triggerable thing that when you take damage, I think that'd be really fun to have a boss that actually mocks you for like not dodging something, or
That's right.
I don't know. Anyway, it is cool that it's coming back.
I think Chris gave out too much more, not personally, I don't think so personally, but I think he might think that he gave out too much information on how to get there, because originally they were just very vague and be like, yeah, you'll figure out how to get to the trial master via Val encounters. And then he kind of expanded on, I think unintentionally a little bit, saying, you know, combining things in your inventory in a certain way, and lo and behold. So
yeah, it's still, I don't, to me, I still didn't figure much out, because I was still going like, well, you said it's a unique map. Like, isn't that's not just a drop? So yeah, it'll be fun. At least it's something else to do.
Yeah.
There was a change with regards to when you're vendoring or using a craft bench.
Oh, I'm glad you saw that. I want to bring that
I'm
up.
gonna read it, because I was like, what is this? This is new. So when buying items from a vendor or using a crafting bench, currency items are now taken from your character's inventory and any stash tabs you have opened in the current instance, followed by the first of your stash tab with the currency affinity set, your currency stash tab, your leftmost non-specialized stash tab. And I was like, besides Ciosa, when did my stuff not just automatically come out of my stash tab?
I think what they're doing is they're officializing an order. So it's not saying like you're finally going to be able to do this. So it's going to take it from your inventory, then your currency affinity set.
Oh, so maybe that's what it is.
Right.
Okay.
And then because some people aren't using like their currency stash tab as their primary affinity set, right? And then it's going to take it from your currency stash tab, and then leftmost from your non-specialized stash tab.
So maybe they're just specifying so you understand how it's taken.
So now, like if you're doing dump tabs and you have currency in there, now you can organize it in a certain way so that it's not.
And maybe if you don't want it to be used or something, then you can. Okay, that makes sense. I was reading that. I was like, this. Am I an idiot? Like, I don't feel like this is new. Can I buy from Ciosa yet? That's all I care about.
That's right. Yeah, can you take those characters that we don't trust so that they don't have access to our stash tab?
You should be able to.
Could you
says
just take
from a vendor.
They said it. Bug.
It's in the patch notes. You can't take it back now. I'm buying my stuff from Ciosa.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
it's very cool.
I would just like to congratulate myself. This is the first time where I have understood something before you did. Every other time it's me asking that question. You're like, Ty, duh.
Idiot. God. All right, Arch Nemesis. They made some changes.
League content, Arch Nemesis. I have to say, this is probably, I mean, maybe, okay, so it's tied for first, because Minions, of course, were last week's news. So I am just as excited about that. But of course, you know, we had that discussion already. This is probably my favorite part about everything that they announced. Absolutely everything, because it's the core game, but it is exactly what I have been hoping for. Hopefully it's implemented in a way that they want, but it's exactly what I've been wanting.
Less rares.
Well, not more controlled randomization.
Sure.
So anyway, how about you go? You go first.
Well, I love it. I think it's great. I love the idea that I'm not going to encounter some insane, stupid mob while I'm going through the axe. I think it's really, I really do. I think the changes they made are very good. Even to endgame, actually. I think it was getting way too silly for how juiced up you could make a map, to the point where it was just ridiculous with what could happen within those maps.
Silly's a good word, because it did take the fun and strategy out of it. Like, it was silly. You couldn't take it seriously. You just obliterated it or shrugged your shoulders. Right. Yeah.
So, and I really think it's very cool that they tied the modifiers into the drops. I think that's really fun.
Isn't it?
What a really cool change.
A good motivation to, like, okay, what does this do? What does this drop? Yep. Like, maybe it'll help you learn it better.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that they didn't remove some of the modifiers, because there are still some that I don't like, and they haven't removed any, which is fine. Maybe this will be better. Maybe fighting a single modifier as you're going through the axe is going to make it less awful to run into those. But there are still some modifiers I really, really don't like, and I would rather just see them removed from the game. But overall, I'm excited that they made this change. I think it's going to be a lot more friendly. I was a little surprised, actually. Like, I was trying to figure it out in my head, because I had mentioned a few times that it was the worst leveling experience that I'd ever had, was this league with Arch Nemesis. I still leveled, I still got through the axe, but it was not enjoyable. I hated Act 1 and 2 more than I ever have before. And Chris was talking about how he played through it. He didn't find it that bad. And I'm thinking, did we play it differently, or have you just not played it in a while? Or did you, maybe you like that? Maybe he likes that. Maybe there's a bit of masochist in him and he doesn't mind that whole like ass kicking. But I was a little bit surprised, and I was at least happy that his design team was like, nah, it's a bit overtuned. So I'm excited for the change. I think in general it's going to be fun. I absolutely love that modifiers now affect the drops. I think that's such a clever way of switching it up. And I actually don't mind the idea that there's less, but the rewards are better. I think that that's good. I do like to play faster, and I don't mind stuff that can clear a whole screen. Like, I do like that, but I am fine with the idea that the rares are less likely to be there. And when they drop stuff, the stuff is better. As long as maps don't feel empty, then I don't care. It doesn't bother me. So yeah, I think it's a good change. It'll be, I think, a more enjoyable leveling experience this league. And
and the monsters are going to be harder now. The rares are, anyway, not the magic ones. But I think one testament to how Chris was leveling is that's kind of one thing that I was mentioning. I don't think you quite agreed with me, but when I was saying how QA should be less informed so that they can be more, what would be a good term for that? Where QA would be like, because they know less about the intentions of the league, they're able to play it more from a user's perspective. And I think from Chris, I mean, obviously he's not going to be left out of all of these discussions, so he knows what to expect and he knows what's happening. So from a very informed perspective, he's playing through on a first time, which is a very different experience than a normal user. So that would make sense. And of course, I love the humility that he has. He's like, that's why we have a design team. I just bow and nod and off they go. Yep. But I love that. It's funny because this is called Arch Nemesis, but Arch Nemesis doesn't exist, right? Like, this is just rare. Like, this is core game. These are just rare monster changes. So I'm curious how long rare monsters are going to be called Arch Nemesis, because technically that's not the thing. I get that that's the league that changed how rares work, but now it's just rares, right? So it's just funny that it's like it's still being referred to as Arch Nemesis, where you get somebody new coming in and they're like, oh, what do you mean Arch Nemesis changes? Oh, they just mean rare monsters. Oh, okay. But I do love that they've had their spawn ability numbers per fight mods re-rolled, like how often those mods are going to roll and when. Even league mechanic interactions, like, it's all been changed.
One of those that I don't know if I like. That being said, I completely avoided this league because of how just death-inducing it was, which was Metamorph. But now Metamorph doesn't spawn any minions at those different intervals, and that is going to actually make Metamorphs, I think, a bit harder. Because your flask regeneration, your on kill effects, whatever that is, now disappears because you don't have any of those minions that are spawning. Did it say no minions? Intervals. None. No longer summon minions at various life thresholds, which means you're just fighting the Metamorph. Which, okay, it's cool because you're just fighting that tough that tough boss, but to not have any minions to try and gain like additional flask, like I said, I just think that might make Metamorphs actually more difficult.
Yeah. I definitely like the one-on-one boss battles, so that's definitely a preference for me. But the thing that I don't like about Metamorph is that how it morphs. It's so hard to see what's coming and what's coming next, and it's weird. Like, it's not a part of a fight that I can prepare for or see what's coming. And I forgot the other part. Oh, and half the time it's so dark that I can't see when it's changing anyway, because it's like a dungeon level or something.
Maybe it would be better because there aren't all those extra mobs and stuff happening, so maybe you can focus on the single one. I'm more worried that they're already a tough fight, and if I'm struggling for flasks, I no longer have a way to get them back. So yeah.
I don't block anything, so I'll let you know how it goes. I do love that, like you said, you're not going to encounter situations where you have a ton of rare monsters on the screen anymore. They now have, I don't know how strict the rules are, but the design is so that you're only going to have a few on the screen at once. League mechanics have been changed. Like, I love that they had a focus. They didn't specifically say it, but they had a focus on Abyss with some big stuff. And you know me, I was a big Abyss fan, but I went out of Abyss last league because it was just stupid. And so I'm very excited to go back to that. So I'm very happy with that. And you mentioned the drop bonuses, which I think is amazing. And I'm really glad they touched magic monsters. And I'm glad that Chris even emphasized that might even be the biggest one, like one of the biggest changes. that they all share the same modifier, that they can only have like stat-based bonuses now, like increased fire damage, increased life, as opposed to a lot more of the crazy AoE stuff, like Corpse Detonator, for example. So I'm really happy with the magic monster change too.
Yeah, the magic one will be a little bit nicer, will be a little less scary. I know that they changed a bunch of stuff and they focused more on giving them stat bonuses instead of the craziness, which I think is great.
Yeah.
But there still are some that I wish they got rid of. And then renaming of the two that they renamed, I was like, guys, that's not that great.
Hey, one of them's good.
Dynamo,
the other one,
maybe.
So
electrocuting. Prismatic to me is like shiny.
Right. So they went from Evocationist is now Prismatic.
Mm-hmm. Don't know what that means, but good.
I think I'm supposed to. Prismatic's been in the game for a while, like jewels and stuff, but I don't know what it means. Like I didn't know what Evocationist meant, and if I see a mod that says Prismatic, I'm like, sounds rocky. And then Dynamo, I had to guess. Now it's electrocuting. That okay, great. That's awesome.
That one at least makes sense.
That's perfect. Okay, watch out for electric stuff.
Yeah.
Super duper.
Lightning and shock. Yeah. That's probably what's going to happen.
And then there actually was monsters with the Sentinel and Benevolent Guardian Arch Nemesis modifiers now take 20% of damage from hits they block, because it was possible for them to
none.
Yeah, technically not be immune, but they would not take 100% damage. So what do you think of Beyond changes?
It was so necessary. I'm sure some people who do like crazy juicing don't like it, because Beyond was the way in 3.18 to fully juice your maps. If you committed to Beyond in the Atlas passives and you rolled Beyond, the amount of mobs you were fighting was there was nothing. I can't even think of anything that has ever compared to that amount of juice in a map. So I think it's a very, very, very necessary change. I love that I didn't even know what the models were when they're like, oh, we didn't like that they were the bandits. I was like, huh? I didn't know that.
That's right.
Had no clue. I love that Scourge is kind of like taking it over. I think that's a lot of fun. And I think it's fun that they tied the tainted currency, like to bring it back and tie it into Beyond now. It still gives you that reason to run Beyond, because if you want the tainted currency, that's where you're going to get it. So overall, I actually think it's a really good and was definitely a necessary change, because it spawned way too many mobs. And I think it's fun. I think because they had to go through that nerfing of it, it's really fun for them to also update it in the process to be
right.
There is some benefit to it, and now it'll look a little bit different. And
so Scourge is now Beyond, or Beyond is now Scourge. So do you call it
Beyond
which
is still
one do you
Beyond.
prefer? Do you prefer Beurge or Scarond?
No, it's Beyond.
Oh, okay. I do love the tainted currency as well, and that they've kind of changed the adjustments for how all those things are dropping, and with bosses guaranteeing to drop multiple tainted currency. So that's really cool. Another one of those things that we didn't have to ask for, and then it shows up a league later. They're just doing it right off the bat, and I absolutely love it. Tainted currency now has a dedicated slot in the exotic section of the currency stash tab. Love it. Right off the bat.
Yeah, it's really good.
Great. Fantastic. Yep. Love
means it's probably sticking around now, so that's great.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, scouting reports, that sure be nice to have a spot.
Yeah, those bottom 12. That's where mine go. That's where they go.
I still have stuff from like leagues ago. I don't even think it exists anymore that's still in there. Then this isn't a stat that I'm ever going to remember, but this is not conflicting, but it's different than how all other league mechanics roll as far as I remember. But Beyond, when it's on your map, it has a 15% chance to show up when you kill a monster, as opposed to the percentages. What is it? 8% for all the other types of league mechanics. It has an 8% chance to show up. Whereas when you're in a Beyond map, well, maybe it's still an 8% chance to show up in your map, but then once it's there, it's a 15% chance per kill.
You still have the normal chance for it to have Beyond in the map.
Okay, then my mistake.
A portal to spawn is fixed at 15% now. So
got it.
It means that you can't, because what was happening before is you would stack Beyond on Beyond to try and like really, really ramp up how many portals spawned when you killed monsters. So now it's just a static. Even if you tried to stack Beyond on Beyond, it's not going to do anything.
Perfect.
Again, good. Really good. Really good change.
Harvest.
This was super exciting. I was actually really pumped about this change, because one of my most hated parts about Harvest was the reading. I just don't want to go in there and try and figure out what one thing is and what one thing isn't, and then try and figure out what to save and is it going to work. I think this is a a really, really, really good change. When I first saw it in the reveal, I was like a little worried that, because even in the video they showed, the person had the life force in their inventory, and I was like, oh my gosh, I hope there's a spot for that. Which thankfully in the patch notes they did say that there will be a storage slot for it in your what's the thing called?
Harvestinator.
I don't know. In the Harvestinator. That's what we're going with.
Station. Horticraft.
I like Harvestinator better. So I like that there's a storage spot for them, but I love that it just stops me from having to think too much, and I can just stock it all up. All of the crafts are unlocked.
Right. So you can read them ahead of time. You can figure out what you want, what's good for your build, what do you hope for. Right.
And now there's a currency to you having those, to doing those crafts. I think it's very clever. I know a lot of this was centered around the whole TFT stuff that happened this league. I'm sure it's something they've been wanting to change for a while, but I know that that was a very big driving force for them making this change. Love it, because they've made it so it's, you're not relying anymore on going to a Discord server to try and find it, and you could get scammed. You literally can't get scammed now because it's a tradable resource and you do the crafting right on your bench. Nobody else needs to have that craft for you to get it. You just get it. You just have to collect the correct life force for it. So I think the harvest change was fantastic. I really, really like it.
They did such a good job. They did this last league, the league before, this league again. So obviously it's going to continue, but coming up with what they need to change, like as a core element. So in this case, like rares, but then they take the opportunity to change leagues that incorporates with, but then also fix the rest of what's wrong with that league. Like you said, all this stuff is amazing. Just, it's such a stress-free system now. Not saying it's not going to be difficult, but it's just currency. And this currency is only available for this type of crafting bench. So spend it on what you want, have a good time. And if you need more, buy it with this. If you don't need more,
well,
like
that's what's actually great, because you don't have to
nice.
focus harvest. So if you want the harvest craft now,
right,
you could just in a trade league buy the currency from someone and still not have to do harvest. I really think that's such a nice change.
Yeah, so you can sell. But I also love the concept of, okay, let's just go in, click all the things, they're dead, let's go. Like there's no stopping to see, oh, did I get this craft?
That was my biggest hate with harvest. It was all the reading.
The slow down, double checking, making sure, and it's like, oh crap, my horticrafting. No, wait, Harvestinator station is full. So which one do I want to get rid of? Which one not? And people are waiting on you, and I really like that. And then of course, because now that they changed how rares work, they also changed the mechanics for how these fights work, and because they added a new currency system, so now it's like certain tiered monsters are guaranteed to drop certain types of things. Oshabi only drops certain types of currency, so you know you're definitely trying to get there.
It's more common,
but she shows up more often, and so of course now they make changes on the Atlas passive tree. I absolutely love this, and here's the thing: I might actually enjoy it.
I'm the same way. I've always avoided it.
My favorite thing out of, and all of this is amazing, and they probably wish that this is what they thought of the very first time they tried to implement it in the core, because it all just makes so much sense. But I loved seeing the visuals for how the monsters spawn when you click on the field now, or the pasture. What do they call it? The little garden, whatever. So you know how they have all the spores there.
Harvestable area.
Yeah, Harvestinator area. No, so they, but when you see in the video, they click on it, then only some of the things start spawning, right? Only some of the flowers open up, but then that's like the magic ones or the normal ones, and then some other ones show up, and you're like, oh shoot, there's still one more left. Like there's still one that hasn't, and then that last one is a rare. So it was like all the last ones were always rare. So they always went in order. It looked like anyway in order.
I didn't notice that,
because they didn't actually. They had all the monster information turned off right there, so it was a clearer screen, or maybe they were hiding something, whatever it is. But they showed up.
They did have a pretty sweet filter on though.
It's such bad marketing. You gotta fix it. So it does look bad. It's so much clutter. It's not positive marketing. Anyway, but the last one that always showed up in all of their harvest clicks was rare monsters. So that gave me the impression that they kind of started showing up via rarity. So normal, magic, rare. But even if it's not that, but they do just save the rares, it's like, so that was when Ziggy was saying, hey, so am I just going to get click and explode? And he's like, no, now it's a lot.
I missed that.
Yeah,
okay.
and Chris is like, but it emphasized what you could already see in the video. No, it's now a staggered release. It's not going to be so just that whole concept.
Awesome.
Like Harvest to me was the perfect example for the negative way that Path of Exile was.
Yep,
like if you
we've talked
clicked
about
on
that.
Harvest, everything was there, and it's either you like that or you don't. And if you can tolerate that, or you think you can, okay, it's exciting to try and work around that. Okay, great. Then you're going to enjoy all the high end content going forward. If you don't like that, you'll be complaining about it the whole time. And now it's different, and I love the direction that it's going. I'm going to have a very difficult time not speccing into Harvest instead of Delirium. I really like the cluster duel idea, but Harvest might win this league.
Especially now that you have access to the crafts. Just you have them.
Right.
That's so cool. I really, really like that.
And now you have it.
Yep.
Because then you have it.
And then you have it. At least then you have it.
Yeah, that's right.
Exalted and Divines. That was fun. I didn't know that they were the same drop rate. That's interesting. I feel like I see Exalts more than Divines, but
I would feel the same. Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, like even though they have the same drop rate, they're keeping them the same drop rate, even though they want Divines to be rare. So I actually thought that was kind of interesting. Like instead of just making Exalts more common or Divines more rare to accomplish what they want.
Removing the sale of 6 links is a big deal for Divines, because that was the source of Divines.
I like that they changed the rarity of it without changing the rarity of it. You know what I mean? Like now, like that Divine, the 6-link vendor recipe, that's amazing. Like I don't
20 fuses is cool.
I don't know if that's too much or too little. I'm still going to trade it in, especially if it's corrupted. I mean, I'll take it. Right.
Yeah, I would still sell it for obviously the 20 fusings. I think it's a good, I don't know if it's a good change, but it's an interesting one for them to make. I like the idea of them trying to make it how they meant it to be, which is that Exalt should be more common for you to be able to craft with.
Yeah.
And Divine should be more rare, so you can't just easily re-roll. You know, they specifically said uniques, which is definitely true. I think that's probably the bulk of where Divines were used was on uniques. So yeah, I think it's cool. They changed some of the crafts to even like, it wasn't even just like, hey, Exalt crafts are now Divine crafts. It's like the Blessed Orb craft. One of the Blessed Orb crafts now becomes a Divine craft. So some of those crafts are actually going to be hard, quite a bit harder to do. So,
and I actually quite like that the reason, like their emphasis for, hey, we want you to use Exalted Orbs for crafting. They're not referring to the crafting bench.
No. They're talking about Slam It.
Yeah, I like that, because to me, as a very pure solo cell phone style player, to me, using the crafting bench and using those 2 or 3 exalts to get the multi-craft mod, that's crafting. But I love that it's like, no. We're not talking like a paid service crafting here. We're talking like, see, you read that text? Yeah, do the right click. There we go. I like that. I think it's cool.
I am curious if it is going to have a shift in what the marketplace considers. You know, like Chris kind of teased the idea of that, but I don't think he's wrong, because Divines may become the like thing that stuff's compared against, that it's a chaos to a divine value instead of a chaos to an exalt. I would imagine there still is that value of chaos to exalt, but if exalts are no longer the thing you need to craft the more expensive crafting, and its sole purpose becomes to slam your items, Divines may become the sub mere piece of currency. So
well, we'll have to see, because rare monsters now are impacted also by item rarity and item quantity on gear. Like our item rarity could improve the currency that we get. So we'll have to see how often these, Divines and exalts actually show up, because that's big news. That rarity is basically quantity, kind of. I'm sure the math is totally different. Otherwise, they would just, have merged the terms.
What has rarity quantity?
That's what he was saying. And then he emphasized it again when he was talking with Ziggy, that item, I have it written down somewhere. Maybe I accidentally skipped it, but it was just a minute.
Well, item quantity and rarity will affect them more now, but those are 2 separate things.
Right. But Chris said that the item rarity on your gear can impact the rarity of the currency that's dropping.
Right. Yep. That won't be quantity though.
Still,
yes, that is cool.
It doesn't like from like the back end side, that's a big difference. But from a user's perspective, same thing.
No, it's not.
I'm wearing gear that increases my chances of getting rare currency.
Right, but quantity increases how much. Rarity increases what tier it drops at.
Sure, but at the end of the day, it's still like you're going for the rarer items. So whether it's
maybe,
you know what
it's
I mean?
Never been like that. It's
Right.
always been try and get more, because then you have a better chance of something happening to drop. I would be shocked if Rarity actually became, because the thing that's always cracked me up with Rarity is you can find a strong box that's like has 1046% increase in Rarity and you're still getting wisdom scrolls. So maybe it'd be cool if that actually meant something now.
Yeah. But yeah, so you get what I mean though, right? Like at the end of the day, I know that they're different, but the goal for both is to get the exalts. So both are
divines.
Right. So rebalance of unique items.
This is the first league that I read through that whole thing.
No way, because that's
never
hilarious.
Cared about uniques.
Because my first note is I skipped this section because I have a crappy memory and I just read each unique when I get to them in game.
I read all of them and I was so excited. I'm not even going to call out specific ones because I can't even remember because there's a lot of them. But I loved reading some of them. Did you not read any of them?
No, I control F for Dying Breath and it wasn't there.
It wasn't in there. Alberon's Warpath, I thought of you as soon as I read it.
Yeah.
No longer has +1 to maximum number of skeletons. Instead, it now causes your skeleton warriors to be permanent minions that follow you. It also has 13 to 19% chaos resist, previously 9 to 12, and 25% increased movement speed.
Your son messaged me about that one. That seems, really, really, really cool.
Skeletons become a permanent. That's crazy that there is a boot.
Yeah.
That completely shifts how an entire skill works.
It's pretty cool.
I don't know. I read through, again, this is the first league I've ever done it. And I read through, there were a few that I did skip because I was like, okay, I don't actually care about that one. But it was such a fun thing to read through because there are some really, really exciting uniques now.
It is.
Which for me, I was trying to like figure out why it excited me. And I think the reason is that I've just not cared about uniques for a very long time. I use them. They drop. They're mostly alch shards, or I don't even pick them up. So the idea now that there are uniques that could drop while I'm in the process of going through the acts or early into maps that could actually be build enabling or something that will help me out. It's exciting. Maybe a lot of them aren't going to be, but I really, really like a big shakeup to the point where some of them, I don't like that Worm's Molt is now level 41. Used to be level 8. Because that was like the most common leather belt and it was great for leveling up, but its stats were like monstrously increased. So I don't know. I'm excited for it. It was the first time I've ever read through all of it.
I had people show me a few different ones since the patch notes were released, and everyone they showed me seemed really cool, like a really cool revamp. Obviously, they teased some as well. But I can't believe how many uniques they actually sat down and completely went through. Like that's such a hard thing to do because you have to think about so many minute details that could be exploited, whether it's with this skill or with this notable or keystone or whatever. And you're obviously thinking not just of what the users know today, but about things that are coming down the pipeline. So it's astonishing to me that they could do 100. Along with all of the rebalancing for minions, along with all of the rebalancing for
Trickster
rare monsters
and all this other stuff.
Trickster. And there's all of, and they went through the drop rates for everyone, not just the ones that they revamped, but every single unique, which they said was around 700, just over. That's crazy. Like, wow, you're working overtime that day. That's a pizza dinner right there on the company. That's a lot. So anyway, and I think this is my favorite part out of all of it is now that they're like quite comfortable with that. Obviously there's other uniques they want to go over later, but they drop less because they're better. But it's nice that they're not a common drop, or I mean maybe they still are, but less common. And actually this was kind of funny. I don't have this written down, but I love people because rares have changed. Ziggy was asked about Headhunter, and Chris,
his response was great.
Oh, wasn't it? Like Chris is like what did he say? It was kind of like
we can't balance around Headhunter.
Right. We have a whole game to do, and Headhunter's going to be just fine. Okay. And if and his, because you could just see like the massive internal eye roll in there, and just being like, okay, come on now. Like if it sucks, it sucks. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Moving on. We got a game to play. But
people who are wearing a Headhunter aren't strolling through maps, so they'll be fine. They're going to find enough rares.
Right. Well, Mage Blood's the new Headhunter anyway. So no offense to whoever made the Headhunter. No offense.
Well, Headhunter was fixed so much with the end of last league anyway, and it's still going to be just fine. You're seeing less rares, but you'll be okay.
They're just going to change it to a permanent mod and you'll be fine. Faded uniques are gone. Not like that mattered to me, but they also added a vendor recipe for Chimeria's Avarice.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what that is, but that's awesome.
It's a one-handed mace. And actually, when I brought it up, it was actually one thing I was going to bring up with you that is not even part of this at all. But did you see the announcement that they're now hosting the wiki? The actual proper player-made wiki?
I didn't do this week in PoE. I'm really glad you brought that up. I think that's amazing. I love it. They already have the new wiki.net on their website. Really glad you brought that up. I'm really disappointed that I missed that. And it's so cool that they're actually doing it. They hinted at other things that they could do to be supportive for the wiki.
But right now, what they're doing to help support them is huge because that's a massive financial burden those guys don't have to worry about.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Very cool.
I was really excited when I saw that. And that also made me feel like maybe they'll eventually get into this direction of like, they can help feed information towards the wiki. So yeah, it'll be really nice. You just have to get people to stop clicking on the one that shows up in Google, which is unfortunately fandom's going to be, it's going to take a while for the wiki.net to, to overtake it, but very cool change. Anyway, Chimeria's Avarice is a
Thank you so much for bringing that up. I'm really glad you did. And thank you, GGG, for doing that. That is just awesome. That helps every single fan of your game. So congratulations to those that have been putting all the work and money into that for the last year and a half. So awesome.
Yep.
What else? Some div cards are currently disabled because I guess of how faded uniques work. So I guess those will be changing. And I guess that's something where it is a temporary disable because people paid a lot of money to have those div cards in the game.
I'm sure they'll figure something out.
Let's see. Removed from the Atlas passive tree. Not sure why this was here, but of course there's one cluster from the Atlas passive tree that focused on faded uniques. I was right near the top, like right when you go north, right from the very beginning, there was a cluster just to the left where it was about killing a boss. Faded unique had a chance to drop from a map boss. And then just to the right of that, there was something called Spoils of War, and it was about rare monsters being duplicated. Makes sense that the faded unique one's gone, but this completely removed. Don't know, didn't read anything about that area getting filled in. And then Spoils of War, though, the one about the travel nodes to it where rare monsters get duplicated, that one's gone. And that's too bad.
It's probably a good thing.
Yes.
Well, but if the goal is to decrease and increase the reward, you can't make it easily duplicated for the rares. If they have truly actually increased the value of the rares, I can understand that.
True. I just wanted it to be replaced with something that was still rare monster related, like buffing them in some way or something. You know what I mean? Like I loved that cluster. I thought that was really cool. And funny enough, even though this is absolutely massive, the defense balance,
we kind of covered a lot.
There really
of this
wasn't any
in the
new
manifesto.
details except for spell suppression. Just had more detail as to what's changed, but outside of that, I didn't see anything new.
There was actually quite a bit in the defense balance whole section where I was like, oh, this is literally everything they covered in the manifesto. So there actually wasn't too much. It was actually kind of the same for the minion balance section.
100%.
Too.
They had a little bit more detail in regards to ghastly jewels, right? Some of the values that were going to be there. No zombie quality. Boo.
It's going to be so exciting to find out. I hope its movement speed's decreased.
I hate you. Also, it does seem like Unholy Might is permanent. Yeah, like they just called it Unholy Might. I know, but because that was the dev manifesto, it wasn't patch notes. It's like, okay, well, maybe they were going to expand something.
Maybe the word
right. Like I'm kind of expecting this keystone to just say Unholy Might.
I love the YouTube comment where they're like, everybody else is bitching about the loss of the +2, and you two guys are like, oh, that's awesome, you get Unholy Might. I read that and I appreciated the comment, but I was like, well, you have to look at the positivities because the +2's gone, period. Doesn't matter, it's gone.
Right.
Ignore it. Don't be bitchy about it because it's gone. Unholy Might all the time for your minions, that's actually a pretty big deal.
That's absurd. Like, I really want to be an occultist, and I was so excited about this minion freedom. Like, the second that they got rid of the +2 minions, they did exactly.
Well, but there is still that minion freedom. Unholy Might doesn't make it where you have to go necro, so there is still the freedom. They've done a great job of that, but I understand where you're coming from.
It's so perfect because I still want to stay necro now. Like, I'm way more tempted to move around. Like, there is that freedom, forced. Right? But
you don't feel
forced.
Unholy
Might, man.
Mhm.
Like, I've always loved summon phantasms. I have them on every build. Even if they're not in my guide, I put them on my own personal build. So that's always an extra 10 minions. You add that with zombies or skeletons or whoever, your Herald of Agony, your Herald of Purity, whatever it is. Like, they're great. Oh, man, just you add all that with Unholy Might. I don't know how I'm going to be able to change it. Like, I think I'm going to have to bail
It'd
on.
be really fun to try.
I'm going to have to bail
For
on my
sure.
Raider and then stick with my Necro and then go with an Occultist instead. Because that's just, man.
Mhm.
Anyway, really excited about that. And yeah, changing unnatural strength. It really nailed it right off the bat. Like, just talking with people in the community, reading people on Reddit. There's so much conversation before patch notes about, okay, well, what ascendancy do you think would work well for this minion build? Like, right off the bat. So I hope unnatural strength really does pick up in popularity, though, because that's I hope people realize how strong that is.
Mhm.
And then
I
come
don't
back
have
and say
anything-
that we're amazing.
I don't have anything until the trickster stuff.
All right.
So if you've got stuff in between there, the rest of it felt like we covered all of that in the manifesto.
Corpse builds?
Or I didn't care.
What?
Or I didn't care.
Oh, right,
or I
right,
didn't
right.
care.
Miscellaneous skill and support balance gems. I don't remember reading anything about corpse builds in the manifesto, but they were brought down to earth. It's quite a lot.
Mhm.
I mean, the Necromancer Ascendancy was changed quite a lot in that regards as well. And what else? Oh yeah, I love I don't know why it wouldn't have been, because all gem information, like the dev manifesto is about character balancing and all gems are character balancing. So I don't know why it wouldn't have been there, but Seismic Trap also got brought down to earth. It was cut down by 30%. That wasn't in the dev manifesto. I remember people like, oh, you cut down minions, but Seismic Trap was the go-to. You know, that was a skill that I think some of the bigger racers were agreeing, off camera not to use. I think it was.
Seismic Trap 30% reduction is still fine. You'll be fine.
Oh, 100%.
If you like Seismic Trap, you'll be fine at a 30% reduction.
Yeah. So those are the only two things that I don't remember being in the dev manifesto, if they were. Everything else was last week's episode. Ascendancy balance. Trickster Justin, go.
I think it's so fun. I really think that Trickster looks like it's going to be interesting, at the very least interesting to look at. I love the benefit of ES and evasion. There's just so many things you could do with the build. The whole, like, based on how many masteries you have,
Really
you're
cool.
getting increased damage, increased everything based on masteries. That's a really fun one to really plan out your build based off. But
well, it's a good ascendancy
it seems
for
fun.
it too, because you are going likely to have at least one evasion mastery. You're going to have one ES mastery. You're probably going to have a mana mastery. You're probably going to have a life mastery. You're going to have just naturally having a whole bunch trying to take advantage of all those notes. So it is a really good idea to mix in with that specific ascendancy for sure.
I want to go CI Trickster
With SRS?
Don't care.
Zombies. All right.
Zombies, of course. Yeah,
That's right.
zombies.
But so one step ahead was a keystone that really interested me. Your action speed is at least 108% of the base value, and nearby enemy monster action speed. Now remember, this is action speed, not movement speed.
It's everything.
Is at 92% of the base value. So when I'm reading your action speed is at least 108% of the base value, that's basically an 8% increase, right? Like, we're not talking it's double and 8%. We're just talking
That's right.
normal and 8%.
Mhm.
Right. And then it's basically like an 8% reduced action speed for enemies. Okay, that's really cool.
In a game where it's nonstop throwing shit on the ground to slow me down, and that one makes me very excited.
Yeah. Now, I was actually surprised, considering at the beginning in the dev manifesto they said that it's a speed focused ascendancy, but there was only one keystone that had anything to do with speed, and it ended up being action speed,
That
which is
action
huge.
speed,
like
though.
that 8% action speed is amazing. But I was surprised that was the only speed, considering that was part of like the two definitions of the theme. Speed was one of them. And then there was one travel note, I think, that gave you
You get an
speed as
escape
well.
artist too.
Oh, do you?
Movement speed and escape artist.
much?
Yeah. Based on you get the small passives give 14% or 4% movement speed.
Okay,
So
right,
yeah,
that's
you're
what I
right.
saw.
Not the actual
So-
main notable.
So I was surprised with that. It's not a criticism because I don't know any better. I'd have to play it. But I absolutely love reading through new ascendancies and seeing the combination. And it's got to be kind of exciting for GGG to do that too, right? I mean, how often do you actually just get to take an ascendancy off the board and completely throw it back with completely new ideas? So Thought that was pretty neat.
Your action speed affects your movement speed too.
Yes.
So like action speed affecting everything is such a big deal.
Yep.
So I don't know. I was excited about it because it's at least something to look at now. It gives me probably one of my most exciting reasons to play the right side of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I would do with it, but yeah.
Now, here's the thing. What's the difference between 8% action speed and onslaught? I would imagine onslaught, because onslaught covers movement speed, attack speed, and cast speed. So I would assume that onslaught is still superior to an 8% increase in action speed.
See, this is the problems with the PoE Reddit not being at the top. I can't even search it and find it on the it's not even on the first page. Yeah, the wiki, sorry. So 20% increase attack, cast, and movement. So what's your question?
Why an 8% increase, unless I'm doing the math wrong, but onslaught still sounds better because that's a 20% increase to everything that action speed touches, right? Basically, action speed is whether you're casting or attacking, and movement.
Or moving.
But that's it. And that's what onslaught touches. And onslaught gives you 20% without any buffs.
Right, except that in the trickster, you can't be reduced to less than 108%. So your absolute minimum action speed is 108%.
So you can still be chilled, but you're not slowing down. You can still be temporal change, but you can't
That's exactly right.
Yep, never mind.
Whereas with onslaught, you'd still get that 20% buff,
but you're fighting against it.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for the reminder.
Get both. Get both.
You good with the trickster?
Yeah. Yep. I think it's exciting.
Big shawing. Big Mike Myers shawing. How did this get down here? Well, I thought we already did unique stuff. Oh, one was a rebalance of uniques. One item, unique item balance. Why is this under?
You skipped over Chieftain, Pathfinder, and Jug then? You're good with those ones?
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah. Those are all Dev Manifesto things. Nothing new was there. I don't know why this is under unique item balance. Maybe I copied the wrong title, but no, this is because they changed some uniques in regards to shock, but I didn't care about the uniques, but they did change how shock works, but it was under the unique item balance section. And it says make sources of maximum shock effect additive with each other. And from what I'm gathering, it's a global change. I wish all things were like that though. Like I wish ignite and chill, like everything was accommodated both attack / cast speed and or individual hit damage. Like I wish there was just that threshold you had to reach and then they were chilled. You know what I mean? So I do like this. And I wish everything was like that. Maybe it is. Maybe things have changed so much and I'm just remembering the old ways. But I do like when stuff is additive because then it accommodates, every kind of play style that I can think of anyway. Let's see.
Man, almost the rest of it was all manifesto stuff.
Almost.
Or a lot of it.
Let's see. Miscellaneous character and item balance. So mana reservation we already touched on. It's basically going to be like what it was like 3 leagues ago. Flask charge on hit wasn't in the manifesto as far as I remember. So that was the flask modifier for gaining flask charges on hit. It's now almost 3 times as less, depending on the tier of the mod. You're getting 1, 2, or 3 charges in return instead of 4, 6, and 7. So that's a big deal because a lot of people were using that to sustain like a pseudo mage blood type of thing. Passive skill tree sources of lightning damage. I never knew this because I'm not really a lightning player, but lightning damage had fewer passive tree clusters than other elemental damage types. So they've changed up the mastery and added some stuff. So that was kind of neat. Stun avoidance on flasks is now normal. Oh, right. So apparently stun avoidance on flasks. It used to be that you could craft better that could drop. So now it acts like every other item. The drop rolls are better than the craftable items. And Val Breach. Did you ever... I didn't know, but though I never played with it, but you could corrupt the portal gem to open up the Val Breach area. So now that's just different. Now it's all about killing Breachlords.
Well, you would turn the portal into a Val Breach.
Right. And even though it was always as intended to be this way, now it's official. The adrenaline buff, I know the champ can get it. I don't know any other way to get it. I'm sure some uniques do it, but the adrenaline buff cannot be gained while you already have adrenaline. So it needs to expire, then you earn it again. So new thing, something to just lodge in there for future days whenever it is you touch the champ again. Monster changes. Did you see anything in here you cared about?
Nope.
Awesome. Monsters can no longer evade reflect damage.
Cool.
Yeah, well, it's reflect. Makes sense.
Mhm.
Monsters can no longer stack cold dot damage. So their modifiers. There was also an enemy. I think they had little Wetas in there or something, but enemies and their mods now use Vortex instead of the other skill that they were using because Vortex specifically cannot stack. So,
Which is good.
Yeah, it is. Because I still think about those like little white balls that chase you in Act 8 and that boss, Yarugula, that gives you the free passive point. Remember? They're like those balls, that cold balls that chase you in that level. Those stack. Hate that. So hopefully that changes next too. But nice that this was a nice change. And Breachlord boss fight. I didn't know this was a thing. Is this okay? So the Breachlord boss fight no longer drops normal rarity weapons throughout the fight because animate weapon doesn't need them. Did I miss something, or are they just referring to animate weapon using the blades from other skills like ethereal knives? Like,
I have
so
no idea.
as animate weapon no longer requires normal weapons, I'm assuming like does animate weapon still needs to take a weapon from the ground, right?
I have no idea. I don't actually know. I don't think so.
Because I know that they
but I don't
changed.
know.
The last time I remember animate weapon actually changing outside of like it doing more or less damage was it still requires normal blades, but that's when they changed blade fall, kinetic, ethereal knives, and then they also changed like blade vortex to do something with knives spinning around, and then that's when they came out with like the blade detonators. So anyway, that's what I assume they're referring to, but maybe I missed something with animate weapon.
Yeah, I don't remember what they changed. I do remember them doing a change recently, but
okay. Well, because animate weapon would be very tempting if it always gave you the base weapon, and then it would only take better weapons if they were on the ground. But if you didn't actually have to create the weapons, that would be really, really cool. So I'll have to look into that because I was hoping you would know.
I'm trying to find it, but I don't know. And unfortunately, the new PoE wiki, I literally can't. It didn't even come up as a search. It went straight to animate Guardian.
Yeah, it's still the same way.
All right, what else we got?
Did you care about any of the Atlas changes? Because I sure did.
I saw they brought Race Course back. I was a little sad about a couple that went out, but that's the nature of every single
Which ones?
Atlas. Toxic Sewer. I really like Toxic Sewer. I like Beach. I don't mind Burial Chamber, Glacier. The ones that are coming back, the ones that I like are
Belfry. Good choice.
I don't mind Defiled Cathedral.
I love Defiled Cathedral.
I hate Belfry. Besides the circle, I just don't like fighting the boss. I hate anything that takes too long to fight the boss.
Racecourse.
I like Phantasmagoria.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I like Racecourse is a good one. Silo's all right. I don't really like the boss.
Love Silo.
And that's it.
Vault is back. I like
Vault's
that one.
Right.
That one's a
Vault's
nice circle around because you do the square on the outside. And then right when you get back to the portal, you go up the middle. Yeah, I like that one. And Waterways. Waterways and Channel. Just love those maps.
I assume they got rid of Channel.
Didn't say it.
Didn't.
Nope.
Interesting. So they're both in.
Yeah, so it's nice. So many of my favorite maps are back. And well, actually, there were no maps.
Racecourse has been gone for 2 weeks.
I know, right? So it better stay for like 3 years now. But anyway, I actually didn't have anything favorited last time. There was no maps that actually interested me, and now all of these ones are the ones that I would like to favorite again, as long as they can be T16s. And so the Atlas was reshuffled, re-tiered. Pantheon bosses have changed for those that like to memorize things, and the Sextant modifier that can cause your maps to be inhabited by an additional invasion boss can no longer be obtained. So I guess that's more along the lines of rare changes and difficulty.
Yep. Kirac League modifiers, meh.
Fun. Yeah, I mean, they were cool. I always forget to use
Fortune favors the brave is still there. So
for the quest changes, I was actually kind of surprised, but all 4 of the new skills are available via quest with certain classes. So that was interesting. They were just, some of them just thrown in there and then you get them from Lily later. There's actually some pretty cool user interface changes. Did you notice any of them?
I read them.
The map device now remembers which map craft you last used, and it's automatically selected if you still have the currency.
Cool. Unless you wanted to just do it once.
Yeah.
And what happens if I selected the free version that you get each time? Like, so each of them unlocks and you get 1 run of them for free. If I select that free one and then go back to run another map, is it going to suck out 2 chaos because I didn't? I'm curious if that'll still keep it, but
we'll see.
It's cool because I'm sure there's people that chain them. The mastery, didn't you just click it? You used to click it and it would show you all the oh no, you didn't. That was in Path of Building.
Yeah, okay. So they're just talking about the realm. So you click on the mastery here, or you highlight it, and then it highlights all the other masteries around the tree.
It's cool.
Yeah. Did you? So this one, maybe I just blanked out, but added the ability to select which microtransaction tier to display as the maximum tier for relevant equipped microtransactions. What's a microtransaction tier?
It's a tier that has like varying degrees of what it does. So like they use the marauder as an example, but so here's another example I can think of is and I don't know if it'll actually apply to this, but it is a tiered one, but the one that shows you what your resists are. You know how it slowly like grows as you get to a max? What it sounds like here is they're letting you choose what's the max it will go to. So maybe you don't want to go all the way to the top tier of what it is. You could stop it in the middle.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It doesn't show the highest one. What I would have rather seen in here is that it's going to let me choose not to show certain portals because I'm still waiting for
I know, right?
For that.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, I look for that every time and I'm like, no, not yet.
Okay, well, that's an interesting selection. I never even would have thought of that. So in filters, the set text color value in item filters now affects the transparency of sockets on a dropped item.
Finally, right? Oh my
god. And then more quality of life stuff that they're going to release
and lots
coming
of bug
up.
Fixes.
You know what isn't up there?
Tell me.
Filaments.
Well, obviously, but you thought that they were going to bring those into something in the game?
I thought they were going to bring. I was hoping they were going to bring them into the character passive tree as like a highlight.
No, that was always a hope,
right?
But it was
right. Anyway, I mean, that's the whole point of adding the filament system in there. They're testing stuff, thinking about stuff. So I was hoping it was going to be
maybe not for the tree though. They could be testing stuff for other things. Yeah. Maybe it was never around the idea of using it on the tree. I do enjoy when Chris talks about how easy it would be for them to implement it, but still not do it.
Well, here's the thing. When they say more user interface changes and quality of life improvements will be revealed in the upcoming news posts, I'm hoping filaments.
So maybe I'm
hoping filaments are going to be there.
That seems like you'd want to put that in there pretty early. Can you imagine if that's like a teaser?
That's right.
Thing like, oh, just FYI, you can start planning ahead for your builds now.
That's right. Yeah. And 4 or 5 bugs stood out to me. Just fun things to mention. Anything stand out to you?
All right, what are they?
Fixed a long-standing bug where frozen prevented any other action speed modifier applying to you. It took me a while to kind of like think about other circumstances where you would want other action speed modifiers applying to you, but that is good timing with the trickster. Fixed a bug where the maximum more physical damage taken value for enemies. Oh, okay. So hang on. Okay, so pride. Remember, the longer an enemy is within the pride aura, they take more and more damage. Well, they fixed a bug where that wasn't working properly. And so I'm pretending that that's why I suck. Fixed a bug where signal prey from predator support would cause all minions to focus on a specific enemy rather than only the minions that were actually linked to predator support. So again, that's why I was sucking. And then they fixed an inaccurate description with charge dash. And every time I see where they fixed an inaccurate description, I'm like, is damage conversion not an important detail? I always think about like SRS not actually stating that it's physical damage converted to fire damage, or the Herald of Agony having physical damage converted to 40% chaos damage. Like to me, that's very valuable information. So when I see that they're changing a description on a gem, I'm like, oh, what about this? This is like completely omitted information that's pretty important. So anyway,
relatively.
Anyway, that we were just going in order. That wasn't an order of that was in display order.
It's the only things that mattered. The only things that mattered.
But it wasn't in order of like priority. So that was really cool to go through. I am extremely excited for rare monsters, Atlas passive tree, harvest, minions. Like, so what a really well balanced change. So really excited for it all. And of course, there's a league somewhere in there, right? Like a Kalandra. So yeah, Bird Lady.
Awesome.
Final thoughts?
Bring it on.
Bring it on. Bring it on. Yeah, let's see. No filaments, balance sweep. Really nice balance sweep. Minions, minion ascendancy freedom. Mana reservations back to normal, I guess you could say. I know a lot of people are pissed about that. Rehaul of rares. Oh,
You're just rereading over the stuff you talked about.
well, no, I wrote this down, but you can take all that out.
Okay.
I should have.
No, it's all
I should have
staying
read
in.
that in my head. I really hope the minion numbers are legit right off the bat. I mean, obviously GGG does too, but I really hope for their sake they don't really have to revamp a lot of the drop values, the roll values, the commonality, how common certain mods are for the new minion items and stuff like that. So, and it's gonna be hard. Cool. The Atlas tree coming up, man. Like that's gonna be really hard now. There's a lot that's really tempting. So
that's always the best part. Yeah. I love the Atlas
but
tree.
I can tell you, I'm not going to do Maven this league because I finally I have all my favorite maps are back, and you can't just do the same maps with Maven. So I'm just going to be going red boss, blue boss, red boss, blue boss, switching back and forth. So anyway,
sweet,
yeah. So see you.
That's
see you at XL.
I'm excited.
See you there.
Totally, 100%. Yeah, let's wrap this up. You know, I have prolotherapy today, so I'm actually really nervous about the rest of my afternoon, and then After Dark's going to be interesting because I'm going to be maybe grumpy or drunk. It's going to be, I'm not sure which one.
Are you supposed to be drunk post prolo?
I'm debating trying to get drunk before I go for prolo. I was like, how can I take shots and still get there? Yeah, no, I don't think it matters afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing matters afterwards. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. Episode 149, Forever Exiled, the Path of Exile podcast. I'm Justin, aka Tags.
Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Patrons, we will catch you in After Dark. Everybody else, we'll see you next week in episode 150. What else? If you look for more information, you can find down below. We got a website, foreverexiled.com. We're on Twitter, foreverexiled82. We have the best Discord community ever, which you can join for free. And ways to support the podcast, Patreon, etc. is down below or on our website. Enjoy 319. Do we have? Yeah, we don't have any more episodes until 319 is already out. So, right? Yeah.
I don't know. When's the release date?
I don't know. Maybe we haven't.
We're recording on the 19th.
Have fun. Is it out?
That's right. I don't know.
Is it out yet?
But it's going to be great.
Have a good time.
I can't wait. This is so cool. What an amazing patch balance thingy.
It's going to be fun. Have a great week.
Bye.